Hey, sweet souls, it's DTO inviting you into taking a deep breath and being present wherever you are. I appreciate your presence and thank you for joining us today at the podcast titled Nameless Energy, where we talk about music, creativity, art, community, connections. And at any time, if you would like to ask a question, you can simply comment, share, and we will put those comments on the screen. All right. I think they're already coming in. Sonrisa in the house. Yes. How's it going, Sonrisa? Thanks for joining us. And at any time, you can simply comment with an emoji just so we know that you're out there. It's always great to see that you're listening. And then, of course, at any time, if you'd like to follow me, you can go to DTO Music on Instagram, my website. If you've been following the journey that Himalaya and I have been on in Costa Rica, feel free to come and check us out at Embody Costa Rica. We have a beautiful wellness sanctuary that we are hosting events, retreats, beautiful experiences. Here's the picture of our community center at Embody. And today, I can't wait to share with you this extraordinarily talented man that is going to talk today about the origin story of how he got into music and also how we get to reinvent ourselves as artists. And he's going to talk about his new approach to how he's performing live, which is very exciting. We have some more people coming in here. Hey, how's it going, Terry? Thanks for joining us. It's always fun when we have the live interactions. Appreciate that. Okay. So today I get to interview Ben Harris. He is a producer, musician, and live electronic performer known as Yemanjo. Born and raised in the cultural mecca of California's Bay Area, Yemanjo's sound is profoundly influenced by global traditional music he encountered as a child and on his solo travels in Latin America and beyond. Today, he continues to travel the world making collaborative music with singers and musicians from Colombia, Mali, Turkey, and Morocco, among other international locations. All right, so without further ado, let me bring on Ben Yemanjo.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for being here, brother. And anyone out there that goes to any festivals, Ben and I got to see each other at Envision Festival, which is very lovely. That festivals are back and they're in full force. And you're going to soon talk about a tour and everything that you've been creating and sharing in the music industry. And I also love that you're a live musician and artist, in addition to being a producer. I think that it adds all this additional dimensionality to who we can choose to become as artists, right? Because we have so many tools to go in on, right? Like at any time, if you know the music theory, it always kind of has that foundation. And then just being in the flow state, of course, is how we get to create as artists. So today, ladies and gentlemen, it is a 5Q interview. So we are going to kick it off with question number 1. All right. How did you discover music?
Yeah, well, I always wonder how far back I want to go with that, because when I was a baby, I grew up. My dad plays piano, and as a baby, I would like fall asleep listening to him playing classical music, like Mozart and stuff like that. And then there was always music in the house and on car rides and stuff with my family. All of my family is really, really into music and collects music. But it wasn't until middle school that I had a really good music teacher named Baba Thade. He was a really profound influence on me and a lot of other kids. And I was in concert band with him. I was in jazz band. I did a lot of extracurricular music that he was sort of the teacher for. And then I also had another teacher in middle school who exposed me to African music really early on, specifically music from Mali and Congo. And I got to listen to a lot of it, play a lot of it. I used to go to a club, an all ages club in Berkeley called Ashkenaz, that had live music from all over the world every night of the week. And I volunteered there. I went to percussion classes there with a guy from Brazil, and sat in with bands there from time to time. So that like multicultural global influence had a really big effect on me early on. And as you can hear, if you've heard my music, it really has a profound impact on the way I make music and the people I choose to collaborate with.
Well, I love that there's a full history there, especially your mom, rather my mom, and your father being instrumentalists, musicians. Like my mom taught me how to play piano classically. So was there that symbiotic relationship of anyone else in your family beyond your father?
Yeah, my brother is a drummer, and he's 7 years older than me, and I always kind of like looked up to him as a role model musically. He's still a professional musician and does music events and stuff in Southern California. And our tastes sort of diverged a lot after I started to get into world music. He's more of like a rock and jazz guy.
Nice.
But we still connect really deeply on music and yeah, my sister also played flute, and my parents just in general were very supportive of any kind of musical endeavor, whether it be lessons or like I used to play in a symphony orchestra in high school. Yeah, they were always really, really supportive of anything I wanted to do musically.
Yeah, I always tell people my parents were saints because they both allowed me and my buddies, including my brother, who plays keys as well. When I was learning how to play the drums, met all my buddies in high school, played electric guitar, bass. We would all just jam in like the basement underneath the house all the time. And they were upstairs just allowing us to be super creative and self-expressed. And
Yeah.
I mean, this day and age, if you're a drummer, you can just get the electronic kind and put your headphones on. But back in the day, I was like tearing into the Zildjian cymbals and beating on the drums. And I love that your brother is in the rock. Like my go-to band forever and ever when I was growing up was always Van Halen, just because Eddie would bring in like the synthesizers. It was like, ooh, it's cool to play synthesizers. Not, this is not like playing recitals on piano. And so, yeah, it's fun how that world music for you really infused like that other layer of how genres can really start to switch into different dimensions. And then you bring in like the electronic music. But that's beautiful and awesome that you got like a family affair of musicians. So it's always very supportive. Excellent. So that's how you discovered music. And so my follow-up question to that is, at what point, once you've like, in a sense, absorbed and sponged up all this juicy information about music and, reading off other people's, I call it, OPM besides OPP, like other people's music. Like question 2 then is, what inspired you to create your own signature sound, your own pathway, and what you are passionate about right now?
Yeah, so the origin of this project, Yemanjo, started in 2013 when I went to Colombia as a solo traveler for the second time. And I had a really transformational journey with the medicine of yahe, which is the Colombian version of ayahuasca. And that changed a lot for me in all kinds of areas of my life, but specifically in music, it opened a window to ways of making and using music as a force for healing and transformation. which I think I already sort of knew that that was possible and that's what music was doing, but it sort of put it into focus for me in a way that was really profound and eye-opening. And so from that point on, I started to write my own medicine music because I already spoke Spanish. I already actually was writing songs in Spanish and Portuguese. Um, but so the first album I did was a full length album. It was called Medicina, and it was basically medicine songs, original medicine songs that I wrote, and a couple of them were covers on the first one. And I was living in New York at the time, and I lived with a producer called Shrikala, who's also a really great musician and producer who makes devotional bass and hip hop music. And I just had the good fortune of living with him, and I had all these new songs that I wanted to record. And so we made most of that first album together just in our apartment in New York. And so that was kind of the start. And it was before I was producing myself. It was before I was even DJing. And then a few years later, I started DJing because I became interested in ecstatic dance and like the conscious dance movement that, is all over the world now. And I felt that was like a really great venue for this music because people were coming to ecstatic dance wanting to be healed and transformed by the music. And so I felt my music was, and that format was like the perfect marriage. Yeah. And then as I kept creating more and more music, I was like, I should probably learn how to do this production thing myself because basically I got tired of like waiting for other people's schedules, and like I had learned enough by that point by like being in the same room as the people to be like, okay, I think I can try this. So 2017, I work as a massage therapist as well. And I was working as a massage therapist in Mexico in a hotel. But it was like low season. So there was kind of nothing to do. And I finally just was like, okay, I'm going to learn this. And I sat down and I basically like learned it on YouTube and by trial and error and by, asking tips from producers I knew. And that's kind of how it started. And then, flash forward to now, and I'm releasing with some of the top organic house labels in the world, including Cafe Anatolia and Cosmic Awakenings and Cosmovision. And it's been a really, if you ask me like 5 years ago where I thought I would be in 5 years, I don't think I would I don't think I would have said that. I'm like releasing with the labels that I always wanted to release with, and like working with these amazing artists that I'm working with, and it's been a really like amazing journey to this point.
Yeah, I love how global your journey has been as well. Like being in New York, and I know Shrikala as well, super amazing soul. And I did a launch party for one of my albums, and he was one of the performers in LA for that. And yeah, it's very amazing, the network of musicians and artists that I have a theory that electromagnetically somehow all of us are just like finding each other in the cosmos. We're all making our way through the universe.
Yeah.
Somehow we all like unite.
Well, it's I was just talking about this because we were just in Mexico City and we saw El Búho and Chancha Villa Circuito, who are like two of my biggest influences. And I actually know them. I've known them personally for a few years. And I'm like, it's so cool that this niche of music that we're making is so small that you can just meet your influences and become friends with them, and then like collaborate on each other's music like so easily, because we just share this affinity for this sound.
Absolutely. And I think two keywords is what you shared earlier is healing and transformation, and that's the impact that music can have on all of us. And anyone that's listening and watching right now, you probably know that there's a song that's been experienced in your life where it just shifted the way you were thinking, how you were feeling. because music has that energetic force. It's, yeah. So that's wonderful. And the other sub point I'll bring up is a lot of industries in the world are all about competition, right? I'm going to take that person down. I'm going to win. They're going to lose. It's that old system paradigm. Whereas what you just said, which is very relevant to my experience as well in this world within the music industry, is the vibration, the energy is all about collaboration. Like, how can we raise the vibrations? How can we support each other? How can we
Totally.
bring on healing and transformation, not only for us as artists that are experiencing this energy, but like bring it to the masses in a really impactful way.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's different about, as I said, I used to be an actor. So I was in the theater world, kind of like I went to school for that, and then I was in that for, you know, most of my 20s. And there's you know, beautiful ways that people collaborate in that world too, but it's also very competitive,
Yeah.
especially, you know, if you're an actor and you're trying to get cast in a role and you're up against, you know, a bunch of other people that look like you and do what you can do. and
Yeah.
um and one of the things that I appreciate about production is that there's room for everyone, and we can all like help lift each other up and spread our music around. Like I'm really grateful to people like Mose, who, you know, has been a friend for years, and we both lived in Guatemala in the same community. And just like through his audience and his impact, he's been able to help me, you know, in my music reach new audiences.
Mm.
And so I feel like it's a really easy thing to do, you know, if you dig what someone is doing, and you can help them in some way, what, either like collaborating or just like helping spread their music. It helps everyone, you know.
Yeah. I remember the first time I heard the expression "a rising tide raises all ships." And I was like, oh, yeah, we're all in this together. There's this like movement that can lift us
Mhm.
all up collectively. So your success supports Moses' success supports yours, my success supports yours. And it's this whole like network that gets to share and collaborate. And as you said, like authentically be friends and hang out, not like, ooh, maybe I'll have 10 minutes with this celebrity or this star someday. It's like they're
Right.
unattainable or reachable, like in our tribe and community. Like, oh, we just saw each other at a festival. Oh, we get to be on this stage and we get to co create. And of course, with technology, I'm sure there's listeners out there like me that understands that to not have to wait for that engineer and to empower yourself and say, I'm going to produce, I'm going to have the software, the digital audio workstation of my choice. And then I get to share files and have other people around the world be a part of it. Case in point,
Yeah.
when Sophia Tom and I were working on her debut track, I was producing it, and she reached out to Govinda. Just quick message, they're good friends. Hey, Shane, you want to put violin parts? Boom. He went into a studio, laid down like this beautiful, magical, glorious, like one and done take. I just drop it into Ableton, as that's my digital audio workstation of choice, and boom, just put it all together. And it's just like, oh, it's like she has, and I do, and you do. We have just access to each other in such a beautiful, friendly way, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it just warms my heart just to even recognize how blessed we are and how grateful that is to just have us all like be able to intertwine and for the common bigger vision of going back to your two key words here is like healing and transformation.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So when people experience your music, that healing and transformation, how do you see them respond? Either when you're doing live sets, maybe you get messages from people that are listeners. Give us some examples of how people respond to your music.
Yeah. Well, so seeing people respond to my new music is one of the biggest uh, joys for me. Like when if I have a new track that I haven't played before, and I'll play it on an ecstatic dance floor, for example, and just seeing the way people react. Um, yeah, I mean, I see people connecting a lot on the dance floor, which is something sometimes I don't see with other DJs, like people connecting and having fun and dancing together. And then sometimes if I'm lucky, I get someone coming up saying, actually, something that touches people a lot is because I play trumpet when I play live. And so some people come up and tell me that, oh, I used to play trumpet and I love it. Or, my son plays the trumpet and it reminds me of him. And so people really react to seeing a DJ play live because it adds that warm, organic human element. I also, because my music is so multicultural and I have, singers from Turkey and oud players from Egypt and, singers from Mali. Sometimes, someone from one or other of those cultures will come up and say, thank you for, playing that song in my language, or, thank you for using that instrument from my culture that reminds me of my home, or something like that. So yeah, sometimes that happens, and that really makes me smile.
And around when people share, like, you playing live trumpet, I mean, that's unique. Like, I don't know many electronic music producers to be blowing horn. My brother, talk about you said your sister and your brother. Like, so my brother, he plays trumpet. He actually played in the army band in the military, and he played trumpet and taps and all that, bugle. And then, of course, you play the trombone. You ever play the trombone a little bit? I know they're like cousins.
My dad does, though.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I think the first time I ever heard a live instrument with an electronic set, it was a good friend of mine, Kaminanda, and he was playing at this event in San Diego County. And before, it was always like you're either in one lane or the other. You're either a live band on stage, or you're creating like beats for the house and other genres, dance music, right? So how's that been for you personally? Because I was sharing with me, like, it made an impact on me. How many people, dipping deeper into your question on like how people respond to your music, how many of those people come up to you when you're playing live trumpet are like, mind's blown, like, holy cow, like, you're playing live, it's not recorded, like, are you live, are you AI, right? What's going on, man?
Yeah, it does have an effect on people, and I feel like it might just be because I'm in this sort of genre that's like a live and electronic performer, but I feel like I see more and more people doing this now, because it feels like, I mean, there's always going to be the diehard electronic people that just love house or techno, and we'll love that forever. Yeah, but I think a lot of people, including myself, when they go to electronic music, they're missing that organic element, or they're missing that element of seeing someone actually perform, and not just DJing. And DJing is, I don't mean to like denigrate DJing, like it's its own art, and like mixing and selection is an art form. But if you're able to like play an instrument on top of that and like really integrate it well into the music, that's like a whole other level for me, and for a lot of the people who come to see me, like they really appreciate it.
Yeah. And the fact that you can, in the moment, you're going to play according to what you're feeling, right? It's improv, as they call it, improvisation.
Yeah.
You're spontaneously like reading the energy of the space. And of course, when you have the skills of producing and, DJing, disc jockeying, even though it's stream jockeying now, it's not much disc happening, although vinyls make a comeback, right? Is like in that moment, it's almost like you're creating a smoothie, right? Like, what are the ingredients to make this taste delicious and nutritious? And so for you have that in your back pocket at all times. Like, ooh, how can I create this experience to just be this extra expansive heart, mind, where people are like, whoa, the guy's blowing live trumpet, And that's something, when I was starting out my career as DTO and I was going to yoga studios, I would bring my harmonium during Shavasana. I'd walk around with a rain stick. And then at the end of class, just that simple act of like have a live instrument in that moment. And I'd play my produced music over top, or sometimes I'd just have the guitar. It's amazing how people get so used to an electronic sound in their ears all the time, or only playlists. And that element that you're bringing to the table, I feel so unique and powerful because you're truly playing that instrument in the moment.
Yeah,
I love that.
And aside from that, it keeps it more interesting for me. Like as a musician, like if I were just DJing, I would get bored. Like without the ability to yeah, without the ability to improvise and like bring new melody and harmony on top. Like it's
100% agree.
Gets boring for me.
Yeah, actually, I've like my dream setup is when I have like a live drum kit, a keyboard, a full piano, and I have a harmonium. I have all these instruments, right? So I can like fiddle around with each one, whatever I'm feeling. And there's been times where I was just playing my own produced music, which you and I know, like a really like full produced song is what minimum usually 50 hours of screen time, if not more, depending on the song and the layers and the communications and all the time. It's like the wizardry behind the curtain, right? Most people just want to push the play button and just hear the music. They don't always understand what it took for that music to come to life. And this is the whole point of this podcast to talk to you about it. The details that go into it. And then what I love is like, once you've already spent that time and energy into your fully produced experiences, then you can start playing trumpet over top of that. Then you can choose which song, the order. So it's almost as though you just have more tools to go into. And then, you could have a live singer on stage, you have a musician, you could have other instruments, so I think that's what people are seeking more and more, because the last 3 years of our lives, I think we've had plenty of opportunities to just listen to done material, but then just know like, hey, that artist is going to do whatever. Like your set at the main stage at Envision was extraordinary, and it was just like the level of production and the lights. I mean, that's a whole other podcast to get into the visuals. But as you said, people just having fun and like connecting and getting like tribal in their dance moves, and just like it's an interaction, right? So that's like a beautiful way of how people respond, right? They're like, you're going with the flow of them, they're going with the flow of you, and so cool.
Yeah, that set was such a I feel like it was such a career milestone for me. Like I haven't played on a stage like that before, and I hope I get to again. It was like just
absolutely
incredibly, everything about it, like the sound system and the stagecraft and the lights and the projections and the performers and
oh yeah, the theatrics were extraordinary.
It was like it set the bar to a new high for me.
Yeah, I remember like a couple days before, Brendan and Sophia and Hemele and we got to like check it out like before it was fully set up, like 48 hours before.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, this thing's going to be ginormous. And then once they get all the lasers and the lights and everything dialed in, and it was amazing. So yeah, I'd love how this year already for you, brother, in 2023, as you said, like this is a new level, a new pinnacle experience for you. So let's give everyone a little sample of your music. And the first song, do you want to set this up and talk about it?
Yeah, so this one is one of my new releases on the Cafe de Anatolia label. It's called Guarapito, and it's a collaboration with two different Colombian artists. One is a producer, and he sings on the track. His name is Killa Beatmaker. And the other one is a musician from Medellin, Colombia, who plays an instrument called the marimba chonta, which is a marimba that is used on the Pacific coast in the Afro-Colombian music. So her name is Sara Chacon. And yeah, this track sort of came together over the course of about a year. I first started making it when I was home in Guatemala, and then I went to Colombia last March, recorded the marimba, and then met Killa and recorded with him in his studio. And this is like a perfect example of the kind of collaborations that I'm doing and that I want to be doing, where, you know, I personally meet these people in their country and record them, and then you know, their magic just sort of ignites the track and makes it into something, you know, completely new that I wouldn't have been able to do on my own.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Guarapito. Ya está. Here we go.
Camino que abre la tierra, voy con mi mula buscando el pan. Soy vagabundo y mi fortuna es contar historias al caminar. Negrita linda, prende la leña, la trocha es larga y ya voy a llegar. Mis compañeros son la aventura cuando en la noche las ranas cantan y el búho llora en la inmensidad. Vamos pa'l monte por Guarapito. Vamos pa'l monte.
Yeah, so when I was in the studio with Killa, I showed him the beat, and he just spontaneously came up with these lyrics, which Guarapito is the name of a drink in Colombia. It's a drink made of sugarcane juice and lime, and they use it as a kind of like energy drink, like back in the day before there were energy drinks. And so he's singing about like going up into the mountain with a Guarapito, and, you know, getting back home to the mountain.
Oh, I love it. Such a great rhythm, great vibe overall. So good.
Thanks.
All right, let's jump into the next song. Feel free to set this one up as well.
Yeah, so this I think is the remix I did for Isla Schaefer of her song Agua del Amor. Isla Schaefer, I assume your audience might know who she is. She's a really wonderful, beloved medicine song singer and songwriter. And I met her at an event that I played last year in Tulum. I got to open for her with an ecstatic dance set, and just really connected with her. You know, we both are in the medicine music world, and we just connected really deeply. And then a few months ago, I was listening to her music, and I was like, oh, I'd really love to remix this song. And I reached out, and she's like, wow, your timing is perfect, because I really wanted to find someone to remix this song specifically. And she was like, yes, do it. And so I made a draft. I sent it to her. She loved it. She said she was like dancing around the room when she heard it. And so yeah, we released this one a couple months ago. And I feel, you know, whenever I do a remix like this of like a singer-songwriter, I try to stay true to the sound of the original while giving it my touch, you know. So whether that means like adding trumpet, which I did on this one, or just, you know, some elements of like what my signature sound is. So yeah, I feel like I'm really proud of how this one came out, and yeah, let's listen.
Beautiful. Okay, damas y caballeros, Agua del Amor.
L'amor es el agua infinita, de divinidad fluyendo pura vida. El río libre es mi sangre roja es el camino. El amor es el agua infinita, de divinidad fluyendo pura vida. El río libre es mi sangre roja es el camino. Por mi vida voy agradeciéndome la fuerza para seguir caminando. Escúchame, a ti yo te llamo, cantando abuelas y abuelos. Con mi familia voy agradeciendo, estamos en la vida, juntos vamos jugando. Escúchanos, estamos llamando, cantando abuelas y abuelos. Canta la luna y a la madre tierra, canta los fuertes al Padre Sol. Canta la luna y a la madre tierra, canta los fuertes al Padre Sol. Canta la luna y a la madre tierra, canta los fuertes al Padre Sol. Canta la luna y a la madre tierra, canta los fuertes al Padre Sol.
Yes, this is almost like one that kind of made itself, you know, because there's like the vocal is just so beautiful. There's so much beautiful vocal harmony. There's so many beautiful instruments already. And all I had to do was like add the percussion and the bass line and like a couple little synth elements and then the trumpet like you can hear now.
Fantástico. Buen hecho. Buen trabajo, Mai.
Thank you.
Mai is what they say in Costa Rica for like dude,
Right,
brother.
right.
I know you know that, but just in case the audience doesn't. Amazing. Oh my gosh. Such a great song. And yeah, I love the way that, as you said, like the synchronicity is like she was thinking about a remix producer, you reach out, and then boom, voila.
Yeah.
Want to give some shout outs to people that are watching, listening right now. Thank you, Soul, for being here.
Hey, Soul.
And then a good friend of mine, Alan. He's also living in Latin America, like you and I are.
Oh, cool.
I think with Alan and you and I, we got all three Americas covered. You're in North America and Mexico. I'm in Central America and Costa Rica. And then Alan is down in South America. So beautiful day. And he's in Ecuador. So thanks for joining us. And then Mr. Andrew Belinsky giving us some praise here. A couple wizards. Well, there's 3 wizards now because you're in the energy field, brother. Yeah, Andrew, because we're just perfectly timed that his artist name is Bolovsky. Andrew blew my mind because here I was doing my debut album focused on original music, and similar to this story about how you did this remix, for me, it was powerful because Andrew came to me and it's like, hey, this song Spirit on your debut album, Nameless Energy, what if I were to do like a remix of it? And it just was such a beautiful request because I didn't even think about how these raw materials of stem files can get repurposed and someone else can do their own interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
It's this beautiful song, Agua del Amor, that you did your remix on it. So isn't it wonderful when people can, reinvent and have a whole other approach? And I'm sure Isla is just thrilled about this one.
Totally. Yeah. It's one of the really fun things about this whole production game is like, we can ask our friends to remix our music, and we can do it for our friends, and we can meet and make connections with other artists that we don't even know that way. And it's often that like the remix is the version of the song that really gets the dance floor going. Like the original song can be great to listen to, but maybe the remix is more for the dance floor, or vice versa. So there's so many different things you can do with it.
Yeah, and we all know this too, as artists out there, whether you're a painter, whether you're a poet, musician like we are, sometimes it just comes to you, and that's the piece of art that people gravitate towards. Sometimes, as what you're sharing, is like there's more time and energy that goes into that. That's a remix, and it's already been out there. Then that one has the impact that gets more, listeners out there. And there's all these, like, for example, going back to Van Halen, like the Kinks originally did "You Really Got Me," but in my world, it was a Van Halen song.
Right. Yeah.
Same thing in your catalog of music. When people listen to this track, they'll of course know there's an amazing singer, Isla's on it, and at the same time, like, you created your own interpretation of this experience for people. Like, what is your way of like almost translating it into what you would do, not only in the electronic world, but with the beautiful trumpet playing, because then it brings a whole other vibe to it. It's this medicine music that
totally
really
and
hits the soul.
My hope is that it kind of goes the other way too. Like if people listen to my music and they're like, oh, cool, like what's that instrument, or what's that style that he's copying? Like, I hope that they are curious and moved to check out the traditional music of Mali or Morocco, or like Ali Farka Touré, or some of these artists that I'm really influenced by, but that maybe people who are listening to mostly electronic music don't know about.
Yeah, I love that. And that's the beauty now, I feel, of people. And you were mentioning, you speak different languages and I speak different languages. And when people put that into their music, just like this remix, then it also opens up this idea of like, well, what instruments are native to Latin America? Or as you said, Mali or African instruments. And then like some of the music I create has mantras from India. Then I have a sitar player. Then I have my father-in-law plays tabla. So there's this whole like, oh my gosh, like there's so many possibilities that we can have appreciation and celebration of when it comes to how music is that international language, right? We're all hopefully able to enjoy it. So I want to segue into your new live set. So tell us about this new setup, and then I have a video that I have ready to queue up to talk about this way that you're reinventing yourself as an artist and making it fun. As you said earlier, like if you're only doing one thing and it's not exciting for you, then what do you think it's going to be like for the audience? So I'm grateful that you're passionate about this and you're reinventing the way that you're doing your live sets and on this tour.
Yeah. So this live set is something that I've been working on pretty hard for at least the past half year. And basically it's an all original set. So I'm going into, I use Ableton too as a production software. And I got a new controller, which is the Ableton Push 2. And it's an amazing piece of gear. It's an instrument, and it's also a controller, and it can do so many different things. So basically the live set uses what we call stems, which are little clips of audio. They're either like 4, 8, or 16 bar loops. And I have them divided into different, basically different instruments or different classes of instruments. So there's kick and snare in one column. There's bass, there's high percussion, mid percussion, harmony, lead, and vocals, right? So at any point I have 8 different sections that I can take in or out or affect differently. And basically it's like as opposed to a DJ set where you're just playing mastered tracks and you're mixing into and out of, a full track. This is the track that it's broken down into different sections, right? Like intro, drop, break, drop, outro. And it's also broken down into these different instrument sections. So it basically allows me to live remix and create wildly different versions of my original music. And it allows me to do is to invite other musicians in to play with me. So for example, I just played a show in Mexico City with a guy named Hernan who plays multiple instruments. He plays oud, ngoni, different flutes, percussion. So I can be playing this music and I can take out, the lead melody and allow him to improvise on top. Or I can take out the percussion and allow him to play some percussion on top. So as far as, my experience of playing it, it gives my music new life. Like I could play my original music in a DJ set, and I do, but using this new equipment and this new format, it really allows me to have a new experience with the music every time. And I hope that it is more interesting and more fun for the audience too, because they can see this interaction and this improvisation happening. So that's what I'm excited to bring. That's what I've been, doing in Central America here so far this year. And it's what I'm going to be bringing on my tour in the States and in Europe later this year.
All right. So here is a beautiful example.
So this is actually a DJ set example from last year. So I don't have a video yet of the live set because it's that new, but it's actually going to be coming out. The Envision Festival filmed my live set that I did with a guy named Cito Reno in Costa Rica last month. So that's going to be coming out soon. But this is a set that I call it the hybrid DJ set. So I'm playing a DJ set, but I'm also playing trumpet and percussion on top.
Amazing. So good. Can't wait to get into that further. That's a 71-minute set, 72. Amazing.
Yeah, that was recorded at this beautiful venue in Turkey that I was invited to play at last year. It's called Before Sunset, and it was pretty much the best gig ever. It was like they set me up. It's this beautiful beachside venue, and they had me staying there for a week. I got to play 3 times, and they did this, free video for me. And the guy who runs it is also a producer, beautiful producer and DJ named More Musica. And he has a studio there. I was like working on music in the studio with him and with other these other great musicians. And it was just a really beautiful, it was like the end of my tour last summer, and it was such a perfect way to like decompress and hang out on the beach and meet really cool people. And yeah, I think Turkey might be my new favorite country.
Amazing. Love that. Yeah, it's on my list for sure. I have a good friend that all the sitar and all of my music is played by beautiful man that lives in Turkey. And it's like,
oh, cool.
Get to like, eventually it's on my list. I was just talking to a buddy at the gym this morning, and talk about Portuguese and Portugal and all this. And actually a good friend that just said he loves your work. He lives in Portugal. I'll put his comment back up.
Oh,
so
cool.
Give a big shout out to Mr. Osiguera.
Oh, nice.
He's familiar with your work. And yeah, it's on my list to go to Portugal. It's on my list to go to Brazil. And, this global experience that we get to have is such a powerful way to bring the music to the people, right? I love it.
Totally.
And the style, right, that's being created where, you really feel it in your heart, and you really have this celebration that you get, So that's what I love about music. Of course, music can take you in all different emotional areas, but there's something about this global world medicine music that's evolving and always being discovered with new ears. And I love that you're a leader in that, and you're really taking it in a beautiful direction. And as I love what you said earlier of like honoring where those influences came from all the different continents in the world, and your parents being musical and your family being musical, and then bringing that into your own signature sound. So I definitely want to honor you for that. And I love your music as well. And so let's get into our 5th segment of the 5Q interview, which is, let us know if you have any closing words, advice, wisdom, anything that's coming to you this moment.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned, talking about working with people from all over the world and having the privilege to travel to these places and share my music. I was talking with my girlfriend earlier about kind of trying to encapsulate what kind of experience I want to give people when they see me play or when they hear my music. And I've come up with this little phrase, which is breaking down borders through sound. Okay. And to me, this sort of works on a couple different levels. The first level is like music can erode actual borders between nations and cultures, right? Because music can move so easily between cultures and be shared and be transformed through interaction between cultures, and it sort of makes national borders irrelevant in that way. It can also break down the borders between individual people, right? So whether it's people on a dance floor or people creating music together that maybe don't even share the same language, we can communicate and we can connect through language. through music, right? And that's always been my preferred way to connect into other people's culture. Language is also a great way to do it, but music is a way that's immediate and that transcends language. And then the third level is music can break down borders even within ourselves, right? We can have an experience on a dance floor or at a festival or even just listening to music by ourselves that can integrate forgotten parts of ourselves or cast aside parts of ourselves, like things we don't want to look at, like the shadow or the inner child or things that we've separated from ourselves and need to integrate. Music can help do that. So in all these ways, I want my music to help break down borders between cultures, between people, and in people's own selves. So yeah.
I love that. It's such a great way to perceive the power of music and know that there's always, as they'd say in Spanish, obstáculos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obstacles. And for there to be that connective tissue that is these frequencies and sounds and vibrations to create these connections, to really say we're all here. As Carl Sagan would call it, the pale blue dot, right?
Yeah.
This place called Earth, we're only here for a blink of an eye, and for us to do our best to promote and be that change of peace and kindness and creativity and art, and to know that amazing music is going to connect everyone at some level. Like you're on the dance floor, it doesn't matter. And I know that you've traveled a lot, and I've traveled quite a lot as well. And there's that feeling, that look where you're like, yeah, this is happening. We're just here celebrating life, and such a powerful source for us to always turn to. And so that's my encouragement for anyone out there that ever feels like, ooh, I just need some music to uplift the soul. And here's where you can go. You can go to Instagram, Yemanjo, and also at Linktree. And your Linktree, if I'm not mistaken, has pretty much all these goodies included that you can go and discover a lot more about what you're offering. You want to share about that?
Yeah, so Linktree, I share a lot of my new releases and also upcoming shows. So the next show in the U.S. that I have, it'll be my first show in the U.S. this year. It's at a place called Corazon Performing Arts in Topanga, California, on Saturday, April 29th, and that's going to be the debut of this live set in the U.S. So it's a really beautiful, intimate venue. I think it holds about 200 people in Topanga Canyon. And if you're in the LA area, I encourage you to check it out. And the link for tickets is on that Linktree there.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then you also mentioned that you have a link that anyone would like to support you. Do you want to talk more about this link?
Yeah, so Bushido is this new platform. It's sort of similar to Patreon, where you can choose to do these. There it is. You can do different levels of subscriptions. So at a certain level, it's you get every month you get new music. And there's a couple different subscription levels. So it's a really great way to support me directly. That sort of bypasses the streaming and the other platforms that kind of take their cut.
Yep. Yeah, so people can become a subscriber, and as it says here, there's different plans available. The Hummingbird, Hawk, or Eagle. Love that. So yeah, wonderful. Well, I appreciate you and what you're creating in the world. I loved your set at Envision. I love that we got to see each other in person, and that I got to interview you and really facilitate an opportunity for everyone out there that already probably thought they knew you. Maybe they know you deeper as far as the origin of how you became an artist, all the influences that you've had, and how you're choosing to reinvent what you're creating. And so I'm going to say my friend Osiguera.
Yeah.
So he wrote, I've experienced here in Porto, in Portugal, how music brings people together and breaks down the idea of borders. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dave, for opening this platform to people like me. And yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully I'll get to see you again sometime soon down in Costa Rica.
Yeah, pura vida, Mai. I'm looking forward to that. And so anyone out there, make sure you go to Instagram and follow the link tree as well. And thanks again for your time, Ben. And keep on enjoying your day, everyone. Pura
Thank
vida.
you. Cheers.
Cheers.